All right, let's see. Can everybody hear me okay? Let me know in the comments. Hey, good day, Michael Ray. How are you doing? Lorraine, good to see you. So today, folks, what are we going to be talking about? All right, let's see. Can everybody hear me okay? There we go. We're going to mute that out and getting back in the groove at the office. Okay. Today we're talking about building business credit, but I want to talk about really the bigger idea of why it's important to build business credit and what that actually looks like. So when you start to think about a business, what does a business have? Okay, so think about, just a retail or a business that you frequently do business with. What is something that comes to mind when you think about that business? So feel free to hear. Okay, Michael, thanks for the feedback. Perfect. So one thing I know that I think about is where's it located? So let's say that maybe it's in a shopping mall, or it could be an actual mall. It could be in an office complex. It could be online. But regardless of where it is, it has some type of location. So let's just think about any type of big box retail store that you know about. It has a physical location of where it's at. Now, when you arrive to that physical location, what is it that you usually are looking for? So you guys are looking for the name. Usually there's going to be a name on the side of the building, or many times there's what? Signage that will have the name over here. So you are aware of where this business is located. Okay, now the reason I'm going to explain this and kind of go through this process is because it will help you understand what the real goal is by going through these foundational steps of building your business credit. Whenever you're doing business with an actual company, you're looking for something that has a location, whether that's a website or wherever. But typically, if you're doing business with somebody, there's a location, there's some signage, there's some advertising. Nowadays, we find a lot of things through Google. So you should have a Google business account where you can keep track of your address, reviews, hours of operation, your phone number, basic business information. And so there's a location, which is a physical address, which is a key component. We have the business name. What else? What else is there that goes into a business? So think about businesses that you deal with on a regular basis. What else do they have? Okay, so I see we got phone number. Yes, so you're going to need a phone number in order to contact this company. Now, wherever your local number is, what our local number is 520X, whatever your area code is, it's important to have a local number for the business that you're setting up, whatever that is. But also, if you think about other businesses as well, your bank, what other type of phone number do they have? Do they usually have a local phone number? Many times they do. That kind of goes to the local branch, or it will go to their customer service number. Now, what is another way that you can access that customer service number? This really came about when people did not have free long distance. That's when these numbers started to be used a lot. What type of numbers do we use a lot when we are necessarily not able to have free long distance? Okay, yes, 800 numbers. If you think about any large business that you do business with, they typically have an 800 number as well. Now, it's not required, but the level of legitimacy, if your business is in some type of service-based, if you do marketing, if you are into sales, whatever it is, I would say that very rarely could a 800 number not benefit you if you're out there doing public things? So for example, let's say that you just have a business that you build rental properties in. You don't need an 800 number because you're not a service-based business. You're not catering to customers and clients all the time. So you don't necessarily need that. But if you're in any type of sales industry, retail, or where you have customers that are calling you, it is something that you're going to want to think about. Also, this address, we talked about the physical location. If you have people that are looking for you, you need a location, but you may be thinking to yourself, well, I just use an address or I use a website. That's where my sales come through. Perfect. Are you comfortable with the address that you're going to put onto that website? This is where it kind of gets a little bit tricky. Are you going to use your home address, or are you going to use what we like to refer to as a virtual office or a physical office location? There's different options, but usually the deciding point for a lot of it is, are you going to have to put that address out there? And many times you are. So in that situation, many folks try to stay away from using their home addresses because they don't want to put that out there for their marketing purposes as the address of the business. So that's something you need to think about, because I get that question a lot. Well, is it okay if I use my home address, or do I need to use a physical business location? What type of location do I actually need to use? And it comes back to, are you going to need to be building a website? Are you going to be putting that address on the website? Are you going to have communication through a lot? Is this service driven? Are there a lot of customers involved? If that's the case, then you're going to want to get a virtual office or a physical location for not only your marketing purposes, but you're going to have a website out there. And if you have a website, your information needs to match, because when it comes to getting approvals for funding and financing, they're going to look at your website and they're going to see if there's any discrepancies. So if they don't have any way of contacting you, that actually is somewhat of a red flag. They want to see that you have an address on there. They want to see that you have an email number, or email and phone number. They want to see these things. Have you ever been to a website and you just can't figure out how to contact them, and they have, just a form? That makes lenders very uncomfortable when they don't have direct access to you, when they don't have, and especially they look at it from a client's perspective. If it's a hassle for the client to be able to get a hold of you, it usually is not ideal for those lenders. So that's something to definitely think about. Okay, so we mentioned a few other things there. We got the phone number, but then we also have, oops, let's move this over a little bit. We got the phone number. So I see Michael put into the box there, email. Now, what's important about email, because there's a couple different factors to this email address. I'm going to take it down here. Now, in your email, there's two crucial components to the email. There is what I call the service side, and then there is also the domain. So there's two key factors to your email, the service of it and the domain. The service side is, how are you actually receiving your email? Is it going through your website? Are you using, well, it's now called Workforce, but it was called G Suite with Gmail. Are you using GoDaddy? Are you using some type of service to handle the email correspondence? Do you go through Outlook or Gmail? What are you actually using for the service? Next, what is the domain name of that email address? So is this yourbusiness@gmail.com, or is it your name at yourbusiness.com? That's where getting a domain name is going to be very important. So yourbiz.com or .co, or there's a lot of different endings to the domain names. Now, you may be thinking, well, I wasn't planning on having a website set up, or I'm not in the position to have my website set up. That is okay. You can go ahead and get the domain name, use it for the email service without having the website. Our rental companies, our fix and flip companies, we don't advertise out for that specific business. We do other types of marketing, but we're not a service driven where we want people to find us. We actually try to hide a little bit in those businesses because we don't necessarily want to be advertising all that. So in that case, we have a domain name, we have the email service, we just don't have a website directly linked to that business. And that is okay. That doesn't hinder anything in the actual business credit building process, which is something important to understand. So let's go down the list here. We have the name of the business, we have location, we have the phone, we have the email and the domain. And then over here on the phone number, this is both local and toll free. Okay, so the location, this could be home or office, depending on really what you're trying to achieve. There's a different level of approvals, which you will see in business credits. Many times we will say, well, if you've already established at your home office, we could push forward to see at what point you start to get denials. Or if you're in the starting phases, let's get your address corrected now. The thing is, if there is a weakness or something that's not as strong as it should be, then we usually try to build up that credibility in other areas. There may be a point in time where we need to transition from the home address to a virtual office or from the virtual office to an actual physical office. If you've already done the paperwork, then we don't necessarily need to do that yet. And we can try to start getting the approvals as we move forward. Another thing to think about in the home address is as you register with the directories and different things like that, that will be the address that comes up for your business. So it's something to keep in mind. All right, so we have our email, we got our service. What other types of things are associated with businesses that you're doing business with? There's usually, they have some type of website, they have some type of email address. It could be info@theirbusiness.com. They have a phone number, they have a location, they have a name. What else do businesses have? You know, if we're thinking about retailers, let's see. Fax, okay, perfect. Michael put in there fax. So this kind of goes along with phone number, fax number. I'll put that down here as well. Fax. You may be thinking fax. Well, a lot of times there's services that are email to fax. They're like, for example, there's a company called Smooth Fax where you send an email, but it looks like a fax, and guaranteed the business on the other side, they're going to receive it as an email. Many places do not have fax machines anymore. Now, if you need to actually fax something, you can either scan it and send it that way, or let's say that you can just go to a local shipping or office place, you know, like FedEx office. You could go there and actually pay to fax something. So sometimes you're going to have to fax in an actual application, and that can be done that way. All right, so after we have a fax and phone number, what else do businesses have? Businesses have some other things. So if you walk into a store and let's say you find whatever product it is that they have, you're like, oh, I like this shirt. Now what are you going to do with that? How are you going to get that shirt from where you are today to your home? Well, you're going to need to pay for it. Yes, you're going to have to pay for that. So if you're going to pay for it, how do you actually pay for it? Well, you're going to go through their checkout process. Maybe they have somebody there checking you out. If this is a website, you're going to go through the checkout or the shopping cart that is in their website. And how that actually gets processed is another thing. And that's what we call the merchant account. You will need a merchant account for your business. And you may be thinking, oh, well, I don't really do a lot of transactions like that. Even though you don't need it today, you might need it in the future. There's been several times as a business that doesn't have regular sales that take place like that, you know, in the real estate business, we've had stoves, we've had furniture, we've had other different things like that that we've acquired and when we're selling off, and your ability to take a credit card payment, a debit card payment in that situation is crucial. I don't know if you guys were part of this whole coin shortage and where it seemed like they were going to basically get rid of dollar bills entirely. You know, we went through this little phase here where there's all, you know, that you need to pay with exact change. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. They may eliminate paper currency and go straight digital. I don't know. When that happens, how are you going to be able to change and interact and receive funds? And by setting up a merchant account, this gives you several different options. We're not going to dive into all the options and benefits, but when we talk about credit banking and we talk about financial strategies inside the business, this can be a solution to many common problems. So keep in mind, getting a merchant account set up, if you're doing something online, PayPal works great. Integrating with QuickBooks is a great merchant account option because not only can you process credit cards, checks, but also sending the invoices all in one place. PayPal will do the same thing, and that integrates really well with certain websites. Shopping carts and merchant processors like Stripe, that works really good for some online retail businesses. You really just have to see what are the other people in your industry doing for merchant accounts. The business account that you have with your bank, they may offer the process or the way to process credit cards. And having more than one merchant account too is important. So getting maybe a Square account, a PayPal account, and you also have QuickBooks. That way, if one of them isn't able to process it, that you have a backup. Or if you're doing a sale, for example, you know, this is November now. We're moving into the Black Friday world where there's going to be all sorts of sales and everybody's competing for you know, for your attention and to drive sales towards the end of the year. Us as well, you know, I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm sure we will have some type of sale that takes place in the next week or two. And in that case, having a merchant account to be able to process multiple different payments and not have a huge influx onto just one account, which could potentially freeze the account, you know, that's good backup. So as you're dealing with a business, you have merchant accounts, you got fax numbers, you got email addresses. Then, of course, this business itself has to report these earnings. So it has an EIN number with the secretary, or, you know, with the IRS, so it can report. It's also has a license to do business, whether this is just a sales license, a tax license. I mean, there's all sorts of different licenses. There's insurance that's going to be involved in this as well. So that's not necessarily a part of building business credit, but having liability insurance or life insurance policies on the key holders of the business is important. So location, phone number, email, fax, merchant accounts, having proper registration so it can do business. These are all important steps to getting a business to the legitimate level and to the credible level. What else did I miss? Have I missed anything? So actually having some type of tax ID number, a licensing, they're actually probably incorporating, if any big retailer that you're dealing with is not going to be in somebody's personal name, it's going to be some type of legal entity. So it could be an LLC or a C Corp or an S Corp of some type of legal entity. So that's another aspect to being a credible business. And let's see, anybody else? Is there anything I'm missing that you think about when you are going to a business? There's always going to be somebody who's the point of contact. Businesses like to, or lenders, I should say, like to know who is going to be that account holder, not only for the business, but whose name is on the documentation. This is where states like Delaware and Wyoming because of the anonymity where it's very hard to know who is the owners. That creates this barrier of it's very hard to build business credit on that quickly because of that anonymity where lenders feel comfortable knowing exactly who is responsible for those accounts. So as you start to think about building business credit for your business, you want to think about what are the big businesses doing? You want to represent yourself, even your little startup, the same way that Walmart does, the same way that any major retailer does. Bass Pro Shops, if you think about that, they have not only their name and they have their location, but they have everything put together. And even though you don't have that website up and running, you don't have the big office, it doesn't change the fact that you still need all these foundational steps marked off. You need to do that. And it's better that you do it in the beginning stages and do it right from the beginning. And it takes time. Setting this up is time. It's time consuming. After this, you need to make sure that the accounts are reporting. We're not going to dive too much into that, but after you get the structural foundation of your business set up, it's not only going to look better for future funding, but your customers are going to look at you as being more serious about your business. So you want to take it from not just being a hobby, not just being a startup, but being a full-blown business, because that's really where your clients are going to perceive whether or not they want to do business with you. And so I just want to make sure that we did a visual of this, because a lot of times we're like, well, why are we actually going through all these foundational steps? We're doing what the big businesses would do. We're making sure that on paper, there's no difference between your business and Walmart. There really isn't. And then we build those accounts and build those reports and make sure that you're able to achieve the funding that you're looking for. So that's about all that we have time for today. Today's a little bit of a short training, but actually it was almost about 30 minutes. If you have any questions on any aspect of this, feel free to throw those in the chat. But remember, the goal behind doing what we're doing is to represent that big, powerful business when we're just a little guy. Or let's say that you have a pretty powerful business, making sure that people can realize on paper that you are successful in business, because this not only works for startup, but it works for well-established businesses. Because I know plenty of people that I work with that have been in business for 10 plus years, but they didn't do any of this. And so on paper, it looks like a startup. But in reality, they have some massive cash flow. They got assets, and they have a long track record of building a business of success. But on paper and through any type of public data sources, it doesn't necessarily look that way. So regardless if you're starting out or you've already achieved, we have to make sure that what looks like on the paperwork and the foundation is correct. That way, you can start to achieve your funding. Now, if you're just starting out, it can take months. 6 to 12 months is typically what we say. So I encourage you to get started, go back and correct some things, reach out to us if you have any questions on really where you're at, what you need to get done to go, because everybody's different. I've talked to a lot of folks who are well along the path of building business credit. They've done all this. They've set up their reporting bureaus. They've even got several accounts reporting, yet they needed just a little bit more. We can help them out. Or they're already there. We're looking for funding today. We could do that as well. Or if you're in the early stages of wanting to get your business off the ground, we can totally help you, hold your hand through that process to make sure you get to where you need to go. My name is Ray Fleming with the Wise Guys in Ties. So you've either found us on Zoom or on YouTube. If you're finding us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and check out some of our other videos on how to go through the process of building business credit effectively in the right way. And reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to help you succeed. I want to thank you so much. Michael, I know I'm talking with you, I believe, tomorrow. So I look forward. We haven't talked in a little while, so I'm excited about that call. Excited to see about what's happening in your world and your situation. I know your business is growing. I know you've had some real success on your credit lines and different things like that. So look forward to talking to you about that a little bit more tomorrow, my friend. And everybody else that's in the Zoom webinar, thank you for reaching out. I know Lorraine was in here. I can't see. My eyes aren't that good to see far away. But I want to say tune in tonight. We're still running 7 p.m. Pacific time, where we are going to continue the discussion that we started last week on, now that we have a foundation of real estate businesses, how do we take this to the next level? So tonight on the Real Estate Mastermind that goes live at 7 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to be taking it to the next level from having just a duplex and a triplex and now moving into commercial properties and larger apartment complexes. So make sure you tune into that. Other than that, be safe out there. Love one another, because everybody's a little bit on edge right now, but regardless of what happens in the White House, we're going to keep on creating economies that we can control. Turn your business into your lifeline so you can go and achieve your God-given purpose. Thank you all. Good night and God bless.